For generations, the galaxy saw humans as harmless, artists and dreamers floating on fragile crystal palaces. But tonight, amid the silent ruins of Serenity Station, Emmett Gray stood amidst shattered dreams and drifting bodies, finally discarding humanity's carefully cultivated illusion. His voice trembled, not with fear, but barely contained fury, as his chilling broadcast echoed through every galactic channel. This is humanity's last polite warning. Stop attacking, or we stop pretending to be civilized. Across countless worlds, smug alien commanders laughed, unaware they had just awakened a predator more terrifying than they'd ever imagined. Emmett Gray stood silently before the trembling holoscreen, the distant glow illuminating the sharp angles of his face. His eyes remained fixed, watching the live feed of Serenity Station flicker weakly, filled with static and screams. Chaos and fire consumed the colony, explosions tearing silently through space, muted by the transmission's distant, cold cruelty. A young officer's voice shook from beside him. "Ambassador Gray, we've lost contact entirely. No life signals detected." Emmett didn't reply immediately. His knuckles whitened as he clenched his fist, the pain of his fingernails biting into his palm grounding him against the tidal wave of anguish building inside. "Ambassador," the officer pressed gently. "I'm deeply sorry, sir. We've confirmed, your daughter Layla was among the casualties." Emmett closed his eyes briefly, breathing deliberately, slowly pushing down the molten grief that threatened to consume him. When he opened them again, a colder, more frightening resolve had taken root. "Put me through to the Galactic Assembly," he commanded quietly, voice flat, devoid of its usual warmth. Within moments, 100 alien delegates shimmered into existence on a vast holographic grid. A chorus of murmurs rippled across the virtual hall, curious, indifferent, condescending. The High Counselor, an elderly Vrelian, raised a tired clawed hand, silencing the assembly. "Ambassador Gray, we received your emergency transmission. This better be urgent, we have pressing matters." Emmett leaned forward slightly, eyes narrowing dangerously. Serenity Station was just annihilated by the Krell Ascendancy. 5,000 innocent lives lost in minutes, including my own daughter. And yet, the Assembly remains indifferent? The Krell delegate, Commander Zurak, a reptilian brute known for his disdain toward humanity, snorted dismissively. "If your kind were not so pathetically weak, you might have defended yourselves." Laughter erupted among delegates, amused at Zurak's insult. Emmett remained motionless, his gaze like cold steel piercing the arrogant Krell. When he spoke again, his voice was deceptively calm, layered with a restrained fury that silenced the room immediately. "You misunderstand humanity profoundly," Emmett began softly, a dangerous edge sharpening each word. "You see our restraint, our civility, and mistake it for weakness. You've grown comfortable with our passivity, confident we'll never strike back." Commander Zurak scoffed loudly, reptilian eyes glittering maliciously. "More human threats? How quaint. You artists, clowns, and musicians would break like porcelain at our slightest touch." Emmett smiled, a chilling gesture that made even the bravest delegates uneasy. "We crafted porcelain because it was beautiful. But before porcelain, humans forged steel. Before we painted canvases, we painted battlefields red. Every peaceful song we sing today was once a war chant, every gentle handshake once clenched into a merciless fist. Civilization, Commander, is our choice, not our nature." He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper. "You have mistaken patience for impotence, gentleness for cowardice. But that patience died today alongside my daughter. So listen closely, Commander, and all those who silently watch, complicit in your arrogance. This is humanity's final polite warning: stop attacking, or we stop pretending to be civilized." The room fell deathly quiet. Unease danced across alien faces, confusion replaced by uncertainty and doubt. Zurak, caught off guard by Emmett's intensity, stammered momentarily, attempting to recover his arrogance. "More theatrics?" Zurak barked defiantly, regaining his bravado. "Your pitiful threat doesn't intimidate us." Emmett slowly rose, his expression filled with a bitter, terrible certainty. It wasn't meant to intimidate, Commander. It was an opportunity for mercy. But now you've declined, so we'll speak in humanity's oldest tongue, war. Emmett terminated the transmission with a sharp gesture, leaving the stunned delegates flickering into oblivion. The young officer beside him stared, wide-eyed and speechless. Sir, are we really prepared to go to war? Emmett turned, cold confidence in every precise movement. Humanity's been prepared for decades. You just never knew it. Swift footsteps echoed through the silent corridors as Emmett moved deliberately toward the secret war room beneath Earth's diplomatic headquarters. Doors hissed open, revealing vast, hidden displays tracking hundreds of concealed military bases, fleets, and installations across human space. Commanders stood waiting, tension and resolve filling the air. Ambassador. General Olivia Reyes nodded grimly. We've been waiting for your command. Launch Operation Pandora. Emmett ordered without hesitation. Alert our fleets. Deploy all defensive measures. Humanity is no longer holding back. Yes, sir. Reyes acknowledged, signaling her team into swift action. Screens flickered to life, illuminating maps that detailed humanity's hidden defenses. Quantum missiles loaded silently into launch tubes. Battlecruisers, sleek and lethal, emerged from civilian shipyards and entertainment stations, vessels masked behind decades of deception, patiently waiting for this exact moment. Sir? General Reyes hesitated, her voice firm but gentle. Once we start, there's no turning back. Emmett regarded her calmly, his voice resolute. They made their choice when they spilled our blood. Now it's our turn. Let the galaxy see the true humanity they've ignored. Within moments, brilliant arcs of energy and explosions blossomed across tactical screens as humanity unleashed vengeance against the Krell's raiding fleets. Surprise turned rapidly to terror among the enemy ranks, unprepared for humanity's merciless efficiency. Through it all, Emmett watched silently, heart burdened yet steadfast, eyes reflecting the cold glow of battle displays. Beneath the sorrow and rage, a profound realization had settled within him. The galaxy had never truly seen humanity. They'd only witnessed the mask. As the first reports returned of decisive human victories, Reyes turned quietly to Emmett. Sir, initial engagements are heavily in our favor. The Krell are in disarray. They weren't expecting resistance, much less counterattack. Emmett nodded, satisfaction tempered by somber reflection. They expected artists. Today, we remind them that beneath every painter is a warrior, beneath every poet, a fighter. Ambassador, is humanity prepared for what happens next? Emmett's expression softened briefly, the pain of loss flickering behind his steady gaze. Yes. Civilization was always our hardest fight, General. Now it's time we stopped pretending otherwise. He straightened, watching as screens glowed brightly with the vivid display of humanity reclaiming its fierce heritage. Today we mourn, tomorrow we rebuild, he concluded firmly. But tonight, humanity shows the galaxy precisely who we really are. General Olivia Reyes watched silently as the battle unfolded across countless monitors, her eyes following the intricate choreography of human warships slicing through Krell defenses like scalpels through silk. Despite the intensity of the situation, her voice remained calm, precise. First Fleet reports heavy enemy losses, Reyes confirmed sharply. The Krell weren't prepared for resistance, let alone total annihilation. Emmett Gray stepped forward, eyes locked firmly on the central monitor displaying the battlefield. He spoke quietly, his voice steady but carrying the unmistakable weight of authority. This is only the beginning, General. The Assembly must witness humanity's full capabilities, ensure all channels remain open. Broadcast every second of this engagement. Understood, Reyes affirmed. Her hands moved quickly across the control panel, activating a galactic broadcast feed. Channels are open, sir. The galaxy is watching. Across thousands of star systems, alien delegations, commanders, and civilians froze, transfixed by images of sleek, supposedly peaceful human vessels suddenly revealing brutal efficiency. Humanity's carefully maintained illusion had shattered instantly, replaced by cold, calculated fury. Commander Zurak's desperate image flickered onto Emmett's personal display, his voice strained with barely contained rage. Ambassador Gray! This is madness. Call off your forces immediately or face. Face what, Commander? Emmett cut in, voice dangerously calm. The full might of the Krell ascendancy? We welcome it. Perhaps now you'll understand, humans never feared conflict. We simply chose peace. You stole that choice from us, and now you'll face the consequences. You cannot win a war against us. Zurak spat furiously. We have crushed countless empires before you. Your pitiful species will collapse under our strength. Emmett allowed himself a cold, humorless laugh. Commander, have you noticed something odd yet? Your reinforcements haven't arrived. Why might that be, I wonder? Zurak froze visibly, eyes widening in sudden alarm. What have you done? Emmett leaned closer, his expression grimly satisfied. Did you believe we spent decades purely entertaining you? Every human outpost, every peaceful city you've ignored, they were masks hiding our true strength. Your reinforcements aren't late, Commander. They're not coming at all. Zurak's eyes narrowed dangerously. Impossible. You're bluffing. General, Emmett instructed calmly. Show him the truth. Reyes nodded sharply. Transmitting visual confirmation. Suddenly, live footage appeared, revealing smoldering ruins and drifting wreckage. Krell battleships shattered, scattered across the void, engines silent, crews drifting helplessly in space. Zurak recoiled visibly, his arrogant confidence now replaced by confusion and dawning dread. How is this possible? Zurak muttered, shock dulling his voice. Our fleet was unstoppable. You've underestimated humanity for the last time, Emmett replied coldly. You weren't fighting weaklings. You were striking at a species whose greatest achievement was choosing compassion over conquest. That choice is revoked today. Zurak's voice wavered slightly, anger shifting to desperation. This violates Galactic Assembly treaties. Your civilized reputation. Our civilization, Emmett snapped, voice slicing like a blade, was never your protection, Commander. It was ours. You tore it away when you slaughtered innocents at Serenity. Now witness what lies beneath that thin veneer of civility. Zurak stumbled backward from the monitor, stunned into silence. Reyes stepped closer to Emmett, eyes narrowing with concern as she muted the feed briefly. Ambassador, we've achieved total superiority. The Krell forces in system are in chaos. But what comes next? Retaliation from the Assembly? Let them try. Emmett responded quietly, firm resolve unwavering. Our message must be unmistakable. Mercy was ours to give, now justice is ours to take. Continue the offensive. Shatter every Krell battle line, no survivors. Reyes hesitated only briefly before nodding firmly. Understood. All squadrons press forward. No mercy. No quarter. The human fleet surged forward, brutally effective, a symphony of precision destruction broadcast galaxy-wide. The Assembly watched in terrified awe as humans discarded their masks, showcasing a species terrifying in its adaptability, ruthless in its efficiency. Minutes stretched into hours, and soon the Krell fleet lay in ruins, utterly defeated. Zurak's communication flashed again, his face pale, eyes pleading. Ambassador, please. Enough. We surrender. Emmett regarded the broken commander, expression unreadable. Your surrender comes far too late, Zurak. But we won't destroy your homeworld or your civilians. That would prove nothing except our cruelty matches yours. No, your people will live to understand their mistake. Zurak swallowed visibly, defeated. What will you do now? Teach, Emmett said quietly. You assumed you could strike without consequence. Now, humanity's true lesson begins. Any aggression will be repaid tenfold. Spread the word. Let the galaxy remember Serenity. The feed ended, leaving Emmett and Reyes standing in heavy silence. Finally, Reyes broke it quietly. Ambassador, humanity changed today. There's no going back. Emmett closed his eyes briefly, sorrow flickering beneath his stoicism. Perhaps. But civility was always a fragile illusion, General. The galaxy took it from us today, but tomorrow we'll rebuild it stronger. Humanity survives because we adapt, evolve, and endure. He turned to Reyes, sincerity softening his expression for the first time. War isn't our destiny, but we must show the galaxy the price for forcing our hand. Reyes nodded slowly, understanding filling her eyes. And if the Assembly tries to retaliate? Emmett smiled grimly. They won't. Today showed them precisely what humanity is, artists and warriors, scholars and conquerors. If they choose war again, we'll be waiting. And we'll remind them why peace was their wisest choice. Reyes straightened, renewed confidence filling her voice. Understood, Ambassador. Humanity won't falter. No, Emmett agreed quietly. We never have. As the screens dimmed around them, leaving only faint images of drifting debris and shattered warships, Emmett stood resolutely, looking outward at the endless starscape, a future uncertain yet undeniably changed. General, Emmett concluded softly, voice firm with unwavering resolve. Today was humanity's darkest hour, but also our brightest lesson. Never again will the galaxy mistake restraint for weakness. General Reyes nodded solemnly, sharing Emmett's unspoken promise. Never again, she echoed softly. Together they stood, silently watching the galaxy's reaction unfold, fully aware that the universe had irrevocably changed. Today, humanity ceased pretending, and no one in the galaxy would ever forget the terrible, beautiful truth they'd learned. Commander Zurak stood motionless, hands trembling subtly, his once arrogant stance now reduced to cautious silence. Around him, his crew waited anxiously for orders, the proud warship now adrift, crippled, and at humanity's mercy. A low murmur spread among the Krell warriors as they exchanged uncertain glances, their faith in their leader shaken for the first time. Commander, First Officer Thresh broke the silence hesitantly. The human fleet awaits your response. We have little time. Zurak's eyes flickered sharply, rage momentarily resurfacing. Silence, he snapped, though his voice held none of its former authority. I know what they're waiting for. He pressed a shaking claw against the communications relay, connecting once more with the human vessel. Ambassador Emmett Gray's holographic image appeared, calm, patient, and unerringly composed. You have our full attention, Commander Zurak, Emmett stated evenly, without a hint of mockery or arrogance, only calm, steady certainty. We're listening. Zurak's jaw tightened, pride and shame warring visibly on his face. Finally, he exhaled, voice heavy with suppressed emotion. We request your mercy. You have proven your point. Humanity's power is clear. Spare my crew and my ship. We surrender unconditionally. Emmett regarded Zurak quietly, the silence pressing heavily upon the Krell commander until finally the human diplomat spoke, measured and precise. Tell me, Zurak, what did you truly think of us before today? Artists? Entertainers? Weaklings? Zurak hesitated, humiliation burning in his gaze, yet unable to look away from Emmett's steady, penetrating stare. We believed your species lacked courage, lacked strength. We saw your kindness and tolerance as weaknesses, vulnerabilities to exploit. Precisely, Emmett answered softly. Your mistake wasn't underestimating our weapons or our strategy, it was underestimating our resolve. You didn't grasp that our kindness was deliberate, a conscious choice. Zurak nodded slowly, his pride shattered. I see that now. Emmett took a deliberate step forward, his hologram flickering slightly, his presence imposing despite the distance between them. Then here's my offer. You will live, your crew will live, but you must carry our message personally back to the Galactic Assembly. Let every world, every species, know the consequences of mistaking humanity's civility for weakness. Zurak swallowed, voice strained but compliant. I will deliver your message. Good, Emmett replied simply. Let it be clear, humanity's mercy is earned, never assumed. Go now. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Zurak shaken. He slowly turned toward his crew, noticing their expressions of awe, respect, and perhaps even fear, emotions he'd never seen from them before. Thresh cautiously approached again. "Commander, what happens now?" Zurak exhaled slowly, posture slumping slightly, pride stripped away. "We return home, First Officer. Humanity spared us, but the war is over. We must warn the others before more mistakes are made." Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship, Emmett stepped back from the communications console, expression weary but resolute. General Olivia Reyes stood quietly at his side, observing carefully. "Ambassador," Reyes began cautiously, "do you truly believe Zurak will convey the message clearly?" Emmett nodded without hesitation. "Zurak's pride is destroyed, and pride was his greatest weapon. He'll carry our message precisely because it's his only path to redemption among his people." Reyes frowned thoughtfully. "And the Assembly? They may retaliate." Emmett's eyes hardened, determination burning brightly. "Let them consider it carefully. If they choose aggression, humanity stands ready. But today has bought us time, and respect." Reyes hesitated briefly, her voice lowering. "Ambassador, there's something else. We intercepted a private communication among Assembly leaders. They're terrified, discussing sanctions against humanity for escalating violence." Emmett laughed bitterly. "Violence? They allowed Serenity's destruction without lifting a finger. Their hypocrisy runs deep. Should we respond?" Reyes asked carefully. "No," Emmett said quietly. "Let them stew in their fear. They need to understand that our retaliation wasn't merely justified, it was inevitable." A brief pause filled the command center until Reyes finally broke the silence. "Ambassador, how did humanity conceal such strength from the Assembly for so long?" Emmett's expression softened momentarily, eyes distant. "Because, General, we understood something profound about ourselves. Humanity's greatest enemy was always our own darkness, our own potential for cruelty. We chose civility because we feared the alternative." "Then why abandon it now?" Reyes pressed gently. Emmett's gaze sharpened, voice resolute. "We haven't abandoned civility, we defended it. Sometimes defending peace demands war. Our choice was never about weakness, it was about strength tempered by self-control. Today, the galaxy finally learned this." Reyes nodded slowly, absorbing his words. "Then we're prepared for whatever comes next?" "Always," Emmett replied with quiet certainty. "We will remain vigilant, resilient, and ready. But our next step isn't battle, it's rebuilding. Serenity Station will rise again, a symbol to the galaxy that humanity cannot be erased." Reyes allowed herself a brief smile. "And Zurak? He'll ensure our message resonates loudly," Emmett said calmly. "The Assembly fears us now, and fear breeds caution. They'll think twice before provoking humanity again." Across the ship, reports came flooding in, confirming the Krell withdrawal and total human victory. Quiet confidence filled the vessel, tempered by grief yet uplifted by triumph. Emmett took a deep breath, turning once more toward Reyes, voice steady and clear. "General, broadcast a message across human space. Today, humanity rose. Remind our people what we're truly capable of, but more importantly, remind them why we chose peace in the first place." "What reason should I give them?" Reyes asked softly. Emmett's eyes glowed with fierce sincerity. "Because we learned long ago, the greatest strength isn't found in war or conquest, it's in the courage to resist them. Today was a painful exception, never again the rule." Reyes saluted sharply. "Understood, Ambassador. Humanity will not forget. Nor will the galaxy," Emmett whispered thoughtfully. Emmett stepped away, leaving Reyes to execute his orders. Alone, he quietly allowed himself to grieve once more for his daughter Layla, for Serenity, for all they'd lost. Yet through sorrow burned determination, a flame that would guide humanity forward. The galaxy had seen the price of challenging humanity. Now they would witness their resolve to heal, rebuild, and forgive, but never again at the cost of human lives. Quietly, Emmett Gray spoke to the empty silence, his words a promise and a vow. "Rest now, Layla. They will never underestimate humanity again. Your sacrifice made sure of it." Ambassador Emmett Gray stood quietly, absorbing the silence that followed his broadcast across the galaxy. General Olivia Reyes approached him slowly, her expression carrying both solemn respect and cautious optimism. "The broadcast reached every star system," Reyes confirmed. "The entire Galactic Assembly saw your message." "Good," Emmett said, his voice heavy yet resolute. "Now we see if they've truly learned." "They're requesting immediate negotiations," Reyes added carefully. "They've agreed to meet all your conditions, Ambassador." Emmett nodded slowly, his eyes reflecting quiet satisfaction tempered by the pain that would never fully fade. "Then prepare our delegation. Let's end this properly." Within hours, Emmett stood before the shimmering holograms of the Galactic Assembly representatives once again. This time, no laughter or disdain greeted him, only wary silence and humbled faces. Councillor Arakis, head of the Assembly, broke the quiet first, his voice respectful but cautious. "Ambassador Gray, humanity has made its point clear. We underestimated you grievously and ignored your suffering far too long. The Assembly wishes to formally apologize." Emmett met Arakis' gaze calmly, his voice unwavering. "Apologies won't bring back those lost at Serenity, Counselor. Words alone have little value. Humanity demands action." "What actions will restore trust between humanity and the Assembly?" Arakis asked sincerely. Emmett stepped closer, his voice clear and commanding. "First, formal recognition that humanity's patience and civility were a gift, not weakness. Second, a treaty guaranteeing protection and full autonomy for Earth and all human colonies. Any aggression against us in the future will invoke immediate retaliation without further warning." Murmurs of unease rippled through the delegates, quickly quieted by Arakis' raised hand. "Agreed," he said firmly. "The Assembly accepts your terms fully." Commander Zurak, standing subdued beside Arakis, spoke hesitantly. "Ambassador Gray, as representative of the Krell Ascendancy, I personally guarantee compliance. My people understand clearly the gravity of provoking humanity again." Emmett regarded Zurak coolly. "I appreciate your honesty, Commander. Your compliance isn't optional, it's survival." Zurak nodded solemnly, accepting the blunt truth without protest. With terms agreed upon, the Assembly delegates began dispersing, their holographic images fading slowly until only Arakis remained. The old counselor regarded Emmett thoughtfully, his voice quieter, reflective. "Ambassador, might I ask a personal question?" Emmett inclined his head respectfully. "Of course. Will humanity ever trust the Assembly again? After all that's happened, after the bloodshed, is reconciliation truly possible?" Emmett paused, carefully weighing his response before answering steadily. "Trust is earned, Counselor, rebuilt over time and through meaningful action. Today you've made the first step, but humanity will remain watchful. We've seen clearly what happens when we trust blindly." Arakis smiled faintly, his expression weary yet understanding. "Then we'll earn your trust, Ambassador. You've given the galaxy a harsh lesson, but a necessary one. Perhaps we had grown arrogant, complacent." Emmett's expression softened slightly. "We all learn through pain, Counselor. Humanity more than most." The conversation ended quietly, the hologram fading to emptiness, leaving Emmett alone with Reyes. She spoke gently into the silence. "Ambassador, it's over. You've brought peace." "No," Emmett corrected softly. "We've bought time, General. Peace must be constantly nurtured and fiercely protected. Today's events only prove that vigilance is the price we must pay." Reyes nodded thoughtfully. "So what's next for humanity?" Emmett turned slightly, gazing thoughtfully into the distance, voice firm yet deeply reflective. "We rebuild Serenity Station, greater than before. A monument not to destruction, but resilience, a testament that humanity endures even after tragedy." "And if the Assembly ever threatens us again?" Reyes asked cautiously. Emmett met her eyes steadily. "Then we remind them swiftly that beneath our civility lies unyielding strength. Our message today will resonate for generations. They will never forget." Reyes smiled quietly, visibly reassured. "I think your daughter Layla would have been proud of you, Ambassador." Emotion flickered briefly across Emmett's composed features, the first real glimpse of vulnerability he had shown. Layla believed humanity's greatest strength was compassion. She would have regretted that today required such harsh actions, but she would understand that sometimes compassion demands courage. Real peace often requires strength. He paused, breathing slowly as if steadying himself. She would have wanted us to heal now, to grow stronger from this loss. Reyes nodded warmly, her voice gentle. Then that's precisely what we'll do, Ambassador. Days passed quietly as humanity embraced the monumental task of rebuilding. Emmett stood silently at the construction site where Serenity Station once drifted, now transformed into bustling activity. Ships moved gracefully, reconstructing gleaming towers, parks, and vibrant communities from ruins. General Reyes approached quietly, standing beside Emmett in thoughtful silence before speaking softly. It's remarkable how quickly humans adapt, rebuild, and move forward. Emmett smiled faintly. It's our nature. Humanity's survival instinct isn't just violence or power, it's our limitless capacity to rise after falling. To endure, to forgive, and to rebuild. Reyes glanced at him curiously. After everything, Ambassador, do you still believe peace can last? Emmett nodded without hesitation. Peace lasts exactly as long as we protect it. We've learned that painful truth. Now we must ensure the galaxy never forgets it. He paused thoughtfully. Humanity showed the galaxy our darkness. Now we demonstrate our true strength, the courage to choose peace again. The rebuilt Serenity Station shone brilliantly, a beacon in the endless night, embodying humanity's resilience. Emmett felt quiet pride watching it rise anew, pain gradually tempered by hope. Ambassador, Reyes finally broke the contemplative silence again. I believe we've achieved your daughter's vision. Serenity lives again. Emmett smiled quietly, genuine peace softening his features. She always believed we could. Layla was never naive, she understood humanity's potential for darkness, but she always insisted our true nature was kindness. Compassion was our greatest gift. Reyes nodded warmly. Then perhaps today we honored her memory properly. Perhaps we did, Emmett agreed softly. But this isn't just about honoring Layla, it's about every person who lost their lives at Serenity. Their sacrifice taught the galaxy a lesson it desperately needed. Reyes's voice strengthened with conviction. We won't let them forget. Emmett straightened, voice firm, confident again. No, General, we won't. Today marks a new beginning for humanity and the galaxy. Our civility returns, but we never again pretend weakness. Peace is our greatest victory, strength our constant guardian. Together, Emmett and Reyes watched Serenity rise, surrounded by ships carrying people home, rebuilding their lives and dreams. Humanity had been tested and emerged stronger, wiser, determined never to lose sight of the fragile yet powerful choice they'd always cherished: peace.